Mr. Macron has softened his stance after an 11th-hour bid by the EU to get the withdrawal agreement finalised in March. Attorney General Geoffrey Cox's previous legal advice has implied the backstop could be used to keep the UK in the customs union. Mr. Cox and Brexit Secretary Stephen Barclay will head to Brussels on Monday for talks with Michel Barnier. Brexit news. Theresa May is plotting an EU showdown. Image Getty. 10:05 p.m. Updates. Remainers announce date for Put It to the People March. Campaigners seeking a second referendum on the UK's withdrawal from the European Union have announced plans to hold a Brexit protest the weekend before the scheduled departure date. The Put It to the People March, organised by People's Vote, will call for the public to be given a final say on any Brexit deal. Its timing, on March 23, follows suggestions that a deal may not be agreed until the 11th hour. 7:01 p.m. Update. FlyBMI blames Brexiters. It goes into administration. The airline, which offered services from various UK airports, announced it had suspended all operations with immediate effect. FlyBMI, which is based in the East Midlands, said it has been badly affected by Brexit uncertainty and rising fuel and carbon costs. The airline said it faced challenges, particularly those created by Brexit, which had proved to be insurmountable. George Osborne says Theresa May should take no-deal Brexit off the table. Image Getty. 6:28 p.m. Update. Support for Labour and Tories neck and neck. A poll by market research company Opinium suggested that the Conservatives have lost the 7-point lead from a fortnight ago, while the opposition has gained 3 points. The survey of more than 2,000 adults in the UK last week also found an increase in approval of Jeremy Corbyn's Brexit response. But 48% of those surveyed believed Theresa May's deal was bad, up by 3% from 2 weeks ago. And in a further blow to the Prime Minister, outright opposition to the deal from people who voted for her party in 2017 has increased from 19% at the beginning of the month to 24%. The research suggested the public were becoming disillusioned with the two parties, with 41% thinking Labour and the Tories have become extreme. Rebecca Perring is now taking over live reporting. 4:30 p.m. Update. George Osborne says Theresa May should take no-deal Brexit off the table if she doesn't want government ministers to quit. The former Chancellor of the Exchequer said, "I think the responsibility now is on Theresa May to take a no-deal Brexit off the table. It's only being used to threaten Conservative MPs. It's got nothing to do with the real negotiations in Brussels. If she keeps on threatening the sticking time bomb under the British economy, I wouldn't be surprised if some members of the government won't wear it and quit." Matteo Salvini says the EU will be changed for good following the European Parliament elections. Image Getty. 4 p.m. Update. Matteo Salvini says the EU will be changed for good following the European Parliament elections in May. This comes after a series of attacks from Italian politicians on the behavior of the EU leadership. Claudio Borghi, chairman of the lower house budget committee, said Italy should leave the European Union unless there is a decisive shift toward populist parties in European Parliament elections in May. While Italian five-star MP Manlio Di Stefano claimed the EU had to deal with its hypocrisy if Europe wanted to be saved and protected. 3:30 p.m. Update. In her speech to the conference in Omarco, Tyrone, Democratic Unionist leader Arlene Foster said her party will say no when the deal is not suitable, but will also not be afraid to yes when the deal is right. She said, "We will measure any new draft withdrawal agreement against our own tests of both protecting the Union and respecting the referendum result." Mrs. Foster added, "We must work for a sensible deal which works for every part of the United Kingdom." Arlene Foster said her party will say no when the deal is not suitable. Image Getty. 3 p.m. Update. No Brexit deal is better than a bad deal. Democratic Unionist MP Nigel Dodds has told his party conference. Dodds was speaking just days after MPs voted down Prime Minister Theresa May's approach to the Brexit talks. MPs voted by 303 to 258 against a motion endorsing the government's negotiating strategy. With just over 40 days to go until the UK is scheduled to leave the EU, The DUP deputy leader said Mrs. May will have the support if necessary changes are made to the backstop. He told his party's spring conference in Omagh, Tyrone, that they want a Brexit deal, but we are very clear that a no deal is better than a bad deal. As we leave the EU, for us the guiding star is the union between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, he said. We will do nothing to undermine that union. The only way to a majority in the House of Commons is with DUP votes. With necessary changes to the backstop, the Prime Minister will have our support. Democratic Unionist MP Nigel Dodd said no Brexit deal is better than a bad deal. Image Getty, 2 p.m. Update: Labour is on the verge of splitting over Jeremy Corbyn's Brexit stance. Ian Murray said Labour MPs were being pushed to the brink by Mr Corbyn's refusal to back a second referendum. Former frontbencher Chuka Umunna said on Thursday he did not give a damn about keeping any party together. Labour is on the verge of splitting over Jeremy Corbyn's Brexit stance. Image Getty, 12 p.m. Update: Jacob Rees-Mogg calls the Eurozone an utter failure. The arch-Brexiteer has taken aim at the Eurozone's economic growth record. He claimed the European project proves the more Europe, the worse you do, speaking on his LBC phone-in show. The leading Brexiteer said the UK's refusal to join the euro had been an enormous advantage to Britain. Mr Rees-Mogg told listeners the Eurozone from 1997 to 2017 saw economic growth of 26% against 46% for the UK, so not being in the Eurozone has been an enormous advantage. It shows the more Europe, the worse you are likely to do. Jacob Rees-Mogg has taken aim at the Eurozone's economic growth record. Image Getty, 11:30 a.m. Update: Justice Secretary David Gauke said he won't support an irresponsible policy. Sky News presenter Stephen Dixon asked if we do leave with no deal, which is a very real possibility now, at 11:01 on the 29th of March, are you going to resign? To which Mr Gauke replied, I don't imagine that will be the circumstances. I am fighting to deliver a deal, and that's what I want to do. The government's position is to deliver a deal so that we can leave on the 29th March. Mr Dixon asked the question 4 more times before the Justice Secretary said, I won't support an irresponsible policy. I think that's a clear answer to your question. I won't support an irresponsible policy. I don't expect us to have an irresponsible policy. David Gauke was asked 5 times if he will resign over a no-deal Brexit. Image Getty, 11 a.m. Update: Female MPs forced to move house and hire bodyguards over Brexit. Harriet Harman, the former deputy Labour leader, said some MPs have been bullied into changing their position on crucial Brexit votes. One female parliamentarian has been advised by police not to travel at night on her own. Another has been told not to drive by herself, while a third MP has also been advised not to run in her local park. Several of those targeted have said police are failing to stop threats and in some cases are siding with abusers. Harriet Harman said some MPs have been bullied into changing their position on crucial Brexit votes. Image Getty, 10:30 a.m. Update: A former Chief Whip Mark Harper is considering a shock leadership bid. Mark Harper, the MP for the Forest of Dean constituency, was sacked as Chief Whip by Theresa May when she became Prime Minister in 2016, but he is now considering stepping up to the plate when Mrs May leaves Downing Street, which is expected to be before the next general election. The Sun's James Forsyth said, Tory MPs say Mark Harper, the former Chief Whip, is on leadership manoeuvres. This is another reminder of just how crowded the field is going to be when Mrs May goes. 10 a.m. Update: Theresa May and EU negotiators will deliver a Kamikaze Brexit plan. This will see both London and Brussels come to an agreement at the very last minute to force MPs to vote in favour of the deal. Speaking on Brexit cast, BBC political editor Laura Kunsberg said critics of Theresa May say the Prime Minister is colluding with the EU to wait until the very last minute of the Brexit process to give in. Ms. Kunsberg argued both parties will wait until the end of the Article 50 process to come up with a deal that will force MPs to vote in favour of the Prime Minister's final proposal. She said, in a funny way, Number 10. and the EU. One might want to suggest, and the critics might suggest, they're in a conspiracy together, they're both accepting privately that there's probably going to be something in the end, and at that point, they believe there is a chance it will get through, but only at the very end. Meanwhile, Parliament is screaming louder and louder and louder about that being a sort of a kamikaze mission, because no one can be sure that even in that final calculation, it will go through. Theresa May and EU negotiators will deliver a kamikaze Brexit plan. Image Getty, 9:30 am update. A top EU judge says he does not know when Brexit will force UK judges to stop serving on the European Court of Justice. Mark Jaeger, president of the General Court at the ECJ, said he was waiting for the government to clarify the position. The UK government's Brexit department said the precise arrangements were a matter for the court. 9 am update. Special relationship boost for May. Donald Trump has not always made things easy for Mrs. May, but yesterday he offered the PM a trade boost when she needed it most. The US president announced that the special relationship will be strengthened further following a new mutual trade arrangement agreed by both countries worth at least £12.8 billion a year for transatlantic trade. He also significantly raised hopes of a wide-ranging free trade deal between the UK and US by insisting he wanted to see transatlantic business significantly increased. UK and US officials signed a mutual recognition agreement earlier this week, which will mean current trade relations between the historic Western allies will be preserved after Britain quits the EU. Theresa May will meet with Jean-Claude Juncker next week. Image Getty, 9 am update. Theresa May is planning a last-ditch showdown with Brussels in a bid to secure concessions to end the Brexit impasse in Parliament. Next week, the PM will visit Brussels to meet European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker in a bid to change the controversial EU withdrawal bill. Prominent Remainer Dominic Grieve has warned at least a dozen ministers will resign unless Mrs. May rules out a no-deal Brexit. Additional reporting by Thomas Mackey.